Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be sharing with you our love story.
We thought it would be fun if we just shared some details about how we met, how we started dating. We think our story is a pretty great one, so we hope you enjoy.
Stay tuned to watch our engagement video because it's pretty funny in my opinion. So it all began when I was 6 and Laura was 5. We were both in a little league soccer team and we were on the same team. I would always make the goals and Laura would always pass it to me. We made a pretty good team.
It was destiny.
And then after that, we were in the same first grade elementary class. That was memorable.
Just kidding, that is not how it went at all. Honestly, we didn't even know that we were in the same soccer team or elementary school class until we were engaged and we just found old pictures. So we had no idea that we met each other before. So that's not really where it starts. It's just funny to think that, oh, it was destiny. So how it really started of when I remember meeting Jared was actually in 8th grade band. We were both in band. I was in the top band in middle school, because I was so good. And then I remember the second semester, there were some students that kind of like moved up to the highest level of band, I guess, and he was one of those people. And that's when I remember seeing him for the first time. And I was like, oh, there's a new trumpet player. And I was like, oh, he's pretty cute. And the way that the chairs were set out, like I would play the flute and then I had my stand, and then just a few rows back, like on the other side of the room, would be Jared, and then that's where he would be playing with all the other trumpets. And so I kind of had like a perfect view where like if I was resting, I was like counting, I could just like look and then I could just see him, and I thought he was pretty cute.
I don't think I looked that cute as a little 8th grader. Was it 8th grade?
Yeah, I was 8th grade.
Yeah, but I must have played the trumpet really good because it was just over there. And Laura liked it, so.
I was kind of shy before. I guess my personality is I'm shy until I get to know people or I feel comfortable around them, and then I'm kind of crazy. And so at first I was just kind of shy. So it wasn't like I wouldn't go up to him and be like, oh, hey, you're new. So I never really talked to him, but we did have a mutual friend in band.
Yeah, so I didn't know that Laura really existed. I guess she knew a few months before I did because she'd been staring at me, stalking me a little bit. But when I remember meeting Laura is we were at a band concert. We had gone and played for like some sort of competition or whatever. And then afterwards we were going and we got lunch. And then I think we went and got frozen yogurt. Might have been 2 separate occasions, but in my mind it's kind of like all blended together. But I think on both occasions she called me out because I was just like really spacey or tired or something that day, and I was just kind of like staring off into space. And then she was like, why are you staring at me? So then I was like, what? I'm not staring. Nope, nobody's staring at you.
I can't believe I was actually that forward to call him out for staring at me. So we were having frozen yogurt and we were both with our mutual friend, and it was a group of people. So we were just like, oh yeah, let's go get food together. And so when we were having frozen yogurt, the benches were kind of like facing each other. So I was in one bench, he was in another one. We were kind of like facing each other. But then we were there talking, and I remember I just looked and he was just, and so I felt like he was just staring right at me. And so I was just kind of like, what do I do? So then I was like, why are you staring at me? And then poor guy, I could tell right away that he was kind of embarrassed. Like, wait, what? No, I wasn't looking at you. So I felt kind of bad that I just called him out, and like all the other people were like, Jared, you were looking at her? But yeah, so that was, I guess, the first time that he realized that I existed. I thought he was like staring at me. Maybe I was secretly hoping that he was like daydreaming about me. But he had no idea who I was, so that's the reality of it. So.
Yeah, so after that, we kind of started talking a little bit more because we had our mutual friends. So then we started seeing each other more, talking a little bit more. And then I think on yearbook day that year, did I give you my phone number?
You gave me your phone number. Yep.
I gave Laura my phone number, and she was dumb enough to text me, so.
I remember I was so excited. I had my little flip phone, and I just would flip it open, then I would like text, and I'd be like, hey.
And then I'd be like, hey, back.
Yeah. But that's just kind of where we started talking more. And like in the summer, we were texting, kind of getting to know each other a little bit better. And yeah, so that's kind of where it started.
So after that summer, we'd been talking a little bit. We might have even like gone on a walk and she saw my puppies or something like that. I think that she was like, whoa, that's so cool. His parents had golden retriever puppies or something like that. And then so in 9th grade, we started hanging out more. We'd usually sit at the same lunch table. That was a lot of fun.
I even remember that at one point, like when I met his best friend, I kind of wanted to impress him to be like, oh yeah, this girl is cool. You can like her, Jared. And so I would always buy Jared and his friend cookies. And cookies were just 25 cents. And so I would just be like casually like, oh yeah, I just have $1 here. Yeah, go ahead and buy some cookies. So I was trying to impress them to be like, oh yeah, she's cool.
But then it was all a trap because after a little while she decided that a relationship built on cookies couldn't last. So she decided to write me a note and friend zone me.
In my defense, I didn't want to have like a steady boyfriend in high school. And I knew he didn't want that either. I really liked him, but I felt like if we kept spending time together, then it would be like, oh, so we're a thing, but then we'll date other people too, or that we would be boyfriend and girlfriend. And so I thought I was really mature, and I wrote him a note and pretty much just friend zoned him, so.
Yeah, I think the note was good, but then afterwards she just like ignored me because she didn't want to like actually talk about it face to face. She was just kind of like, I'm gonna hide behind my note and just kind of avoid you after that. But the note I think was well done.
Yes, I actually spent a lot of time on that note. Anyways, I wrote him the note. I friend zoned him the end of 9th grade, and we didn't talk too much in sophomore year of high school. But then I think second semester we had 1 or 2 classes together, and then we started talking a little bit more, and then we're like, oh, okay, yeah, I remember, like, I like you, you're cool, yeah, we can be friends. So I feel like then we were kind of talking more and just kind of being friendly with each other.
So there was like a year when we both kind of just felt like the other person didn't want to talk to each other, but it was kind of just like a little miscommunication.
So beginning of junior year, I had just turned 16, and Jared asked me to our homecoming dance, and that was my first date. So he took me on my first date. We went in a group to the dance, and it was super fun. I had a lot of fun. It was just really enjoyable. I think it's cute that we have pictures of us going on our first date, and we were itty bitty little 16-year-olds going on a date.
Yeah, we were quite different back then, but I do remember that date was a ton of fun. And then I remember that when we got back, since one of your brothers has Down syndrome and likes to escape, the door was locked and you didn't have a key, so your dad was waiting there. And it was funny because I pulled up and I was like, oh, I'm going to give her a hug or whatever. And then I was like, oh, is that your dad there? And then you were like, yeah, just give me a handshake. So.
Well, because it was my first date. And then my sister also went to homecoming, and it was her first date too. So it was my dad's first experience, like having his daughters go on a date. And our front door is glass. So like we could clearly see that he was there. He was wearing an orange shirt. So it was very obvious that he was right there. And so I didn't know what to do, and I feel like he was always kind of strict. He was like, oh, you don't need to be dating boys, don't kiss boys, you know, all those things. And so I was like, shoot, am I gonna get in trouble if I hug Jared? And so he walks me up to the door, and I just give him a handshake. And I was like, okay, bye. So poor guy.
Yeah. My friends made fun of me in the car afterwards. They were like, what, not even a hug, just a handshake? Because we were in a group and they watched the drop off. It was kind of funny. So then for the rest of high school, we went on a few more dates, but we were never really seriously dating. We were just kind of dating around, trying to have fun, and we were trying to understand what we were looking for in a future spouse a little bit during our high school years.
I do remember that the end of senior year, there were a lot of senior activities that our school had. And I remember we hung out together and with each other's friends for a lot of those activities. And for me, I remember at that point, that's when I started liking Jared again, because we were spending more time together, and then I saw a lot of the qualities that he had, and then I was reminded of like what a good person he is and all the things that I liked about him. But we both decided to serve a mission for our church, And so Jared already had his mission call. He was already assigned a place to serve, and I knew that he was going to be gone for 2 years. And then when I turned to 19, I would be assigned somewhere to serve for a year and a half. So I knew that we wouldn't see each other for a while. And also when you're on a mission, you don't date. Like, you just dedicate that time to serving other people, teaching people about Jesus Christ and the gospel. And so I didn't want to be a distraction for him for that. So that's why I didn't tell him that I liked him at that time. I just said, goodbye, friend.
I think we both knew that we kind of liked each other, but since I was going on a mission and Laura thought that she also might want to go on a mission, it just didn't seem like the right time to try and have a relationship. So we just kind of put that on the shelf.
So when you're on your mission, you can write to family and friends every Monday. And so when Jared went on his mission, we started writing emails kind of consistently, but then after a few months we were writing pretty consistently. And so that was fun that we were able to communicate. Even though it was only through email, I felt like it was kind of, I don't know, like more meaningful. Like, it wasn't like, hey, what's up? It was like we would share stories and things about what was happening in our lives. I was in college at the time. He was on a mission, having all these wonderful experiences. And so I thought it was really cool that we were able to write each other. And then when I went on my mission, we were able to still write each other. And it was great that we were able to share experiences that we've had. And I think it was great because I could tell that both of us were growing a lot and maturing.
I remember that when I was on my mission, that getting those emails once a week was always a big highlight. I just remember that I always looked forward to writing her, and I feel like that since it was just limited to once a week, we had a lot to tell each other. There was like, oh, all these things happened, as opposed to when you're kind of home or like texting people every day, it gets a little bit boring and monotonous, So I felt like those emails were pretty meaningful, and then we were both doing some pretty interesting stuff, so it was good to hear about each other's lives.
Okay, so we wrote each other on our missions, and then I came home the very end of February of 2019. And so I had just come home after being gone for almost a year and a half. And it was just, kind of getting adjusted to being back home, seeing my family, get back to normal life.
Yeah, and I had almost been home for about a year. I think it was like 10 months when Laura got back. So I had already been back for a little bit and kind of gotten a little bit more used to living a normal life as opposed to being on the mission, because it's a little bit different. And I remember that when Laura got back, I was really excited to try and date her a little bit more seriously. So I went and visited her, and at first it was a little bit awkward to see her, and she was just still kind of like, hey, I was a missionary, I can't talk to boys or whatever, but you could tell that a little bit. But when she got back, we started talking more.
And then we went on a couple of dates, but it wasn't anything serious. We weren't in a relationship at that point. Jared was still going on dates with some other people. He encouraged me to go on dates with other people. But before my mission, when I was in college, I went on a lot of dates. And I got to meet a lot of different guys. And I had a list of qualities that I wanted my future spouse to have. I had qualities that were like required, like, oh, they must have this. And I also had qualities of like, it's not like required, but it'd be nice if they had that. And also things that I didn't want them to have, if that makes sense. But I also learned that if I have a list like that, I need to make sure that I'm also living those things. Like, I can't be like, oh, I want someone who's attractive and healthy and smart and good with money if I'm not any of those things. So I had the list of like things that I wanted in a future spouse. And when I was in college and going on a lot of dates, I feel like it kind of solidified that list because I saw some qualities that were really good, some qualities that I didn't really like in the other guys. And so when I got home from my mission, I felt like Jared had a lot of those qualities that I knew of, but I mean, I wanted to date him with more time to be able to be sure. But when I got home, there were some people that asked me out on dates, but I wasn't really interested. I don't know, that sounds kind of mean, but I wasn't really interested in going on dates with them.
That's how she knew that I was the one, because she didn't want to be with anybody else.
That is true, yeah. I would think, hey, would I rather spend time with Jared or go on a date with this person?
I went on a lot of dates, so I knew exactly kind of what I wanted, and Laura really met kind of everything I was looking for in a future spouse. And that's why I tried to have her go on some dates as well, because I feel like I've always been one that's like, okay, you gotta try everything on the menu to know what you like. And I just wanted to make sure that I was meeting her needs, since I felt like she was what I was looking for in a wife.
That's me. So we just went on a few dates, and then we started officially dating April 7th. And so at that point, we were boyfriend and girlfriend, we were in a relationship. Pretty much we were spending every single day together. We would see each other every day. We would do all sorts of different activities. We would see each other with our families. Like, I would meet his family and spend a lot of time with them. He'd come spend time with my family.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to spend every day together. I always just looked forward to it. There were some times where Laura was working 12-hour days, and so we would get together in the mornings and go running together at like 5 a.m. before her 12-hour shifts, or when our night times were busy. But it was really fun to just take that time to get to know each other a little more and to be able to see each other every day.
And this is the crazy thing. I never thought that I would be one of these people, but after, it wasn't even a month of dating when we went on a double date with some friends and we went on a hike. And as we were sitting up there, for some reason, we started talking about marriage. That was something that I had in my mind. Like, I knew for sure that I wanted to marry Jared, but I didn't want to be super forward and be like, so let's get married, and like scare him off. So I was like, I'm okay to take time. I'm okay for us to date for several months or a year or something before we talk about that.
Yeah, and so I had just signed a lease with one of my friends to go move out down by college, and I was like, I can't just like back out on him. So I was like, I can't get married now. Then I was like, I kind of want to. So Laura convinced me that we should just get married instead of moving out with my friends. So I told my friend that we could back out of our lease, and then we ended up getting married just before the next semester started of college.
Mm-hmm. So we did talk about marriage, and we knew that that was something that we wanted to do. And we talked about like the future goals that we have, and it just felt right. We felt like we wanted to get married. So then I was waiting for him to propose. And like, he talked to my dad a couple weeks later, or a week later, I don't even know. But he talked to my dad, and so I knew it was gonna happen like any day now. And so I remember that like for a while I was like, okay, like he's gonna propose now, and I would make sure I looked all cute. And I actually thought he was going to propose 1 month after we started dating. So on May 7th, I thought like, oh, we've been dating for a month, like maybe he'll propose. And we were walking at a park, and I was like, oh, this could be a good place where he proposes. And we were walking, and then he was like, Kay, close your eyes. I was like, oh, this is definitely it. He's proposing right here. And then I was thinking like, wait, is someone here to like take pictures? I want to remember this moment. And then he pulls out a necklace, and I was like, oh, okay. And then he was like, oh, this is a necklace that I got on my mission, and so I wanted to give this to you. And so it's actually this necklace right here. And so I thought that was super sweet of him, but then I was like, oh, we're not engaged. Okay, so he's not proposing soon.
And so the next day is when I was planning to go, but Laura was a little upset because it was after a 12-hour shift that she had, and then she didn't have a whole lot of time to get ready. But I planned it out that we could go up to Salt Lake, to the temple that we were planning on getting married in, and just propose up there.
So we drove up, we did a double date with his brother and sister-in-law, and we went and got gelato at this one place. And I remember at first, at the beginning, I thought like, oh, he might propose. But then afterwards I was like, oh no, he's not gonna propose today. And I like just pushed that away. And so I, like Jared said, I just got off of a 12-hour shift, and I had like third day hair. I wasn't really wearing that much makeup, and then I was cold, and so he gave me his jacket, but his jacket was huge on me. So like the sleeves were all the way down, but I was like, oh, it's okay, I'm comfy, I'm warm. So that's how I looked. So then afterwards, we were walking around the temple grounds, and it was beautiful. We did talk about that we wanted to get married at that temple. And so we were just kind of walking around, and we were taking pictures with his brother and sister-in-law. So we were walking around, and in front of the temple, there's this little pedestal that you can stand, and it's really good for pictures. Like, it's beautiful, like you see you and the temple. So we stood there on the pedestal to take some pictures.
And that's where I was planning to propose to her, because I was like, okay, this is a really great spot to get pictures of the proposal. So we can just like pretend like we're just gonna take pictures, and then I'll just like reach in my pocket, pull out the ring, and boom, pop the question.
Which is a really good plan. But the thing was, so his brother and sister-in-law were taking pictures of us on the pedestal. And so we took pictures, and the thing was, he like afterwards he just like stood there. So I was like, hey, so what are we gonna do now? So I hop off the pedestal and I start like dancing away. And I'm like, hey, what are we gonna do next, guys? And then I was just like, hey, what's going on? And then like for a second I was like, oh shoot. Like everything, like they were all just silent looking at me, and I was like, oh, and then I turn around and I see Jared, he's just like following me. He's holding a box. And next thing I know, he kind of just like kneels down right there and he's like, will you marry me?
So things didn't really go as planned. My soon-to-be fiance danced away from me, but then she said yes, and then we staged a picture to post on social media that we could pretend like that's how it really happened. Just
Yes.
right there on the pedestal.
Yeah, because I looked so shocked in the picture, but it was staged. Because of course I would ruin it. And then after I told some of my friends what happened, and they're like, of course you would do that. That sounds like such a Laura thing for a proposal. So I guess that is just me. Sorry, but...
Yep. I proposed on May 8th, and so we had exactly 3 months to get ready for our wedding, which I feel like was kind of a long time to wait, but then it turned out that it was a good amount of time, because it turns out there's a lot more to planning a wedding than I had initially thought.
So yeah, we just planned a wedding together. We wanted it to be not super over the top. We didn't want it to be very expensive, but I felt like it was really beautiful. One of my old neighbors let us use their backyard, which was absolutely gorgeous, so it was outside. The only thing was it rained on and off on our wedding day. Like after we got married in the day, we had pictures and everything, but it was raining, but then it stopped raining, so we took pictures, and then we were hoping that it wouldn't rain for the reception because it was an outdoor reception.
Yep, so during the pictures, everyone had tons of umbrellas, and everyone was just kind of trying to stay dry. But we got some good pictures in between little downpours, because in Utah it doesn't rain for too long, thankfully. Except for this day. I think this day was like the most rain I've ever seen, and been outside in at least.
And I remember it was like an hour into the reception. We just had the line going, and then we were just about to start with all of the other activities, you know, like the cutting the cake, throwing the bouquet, like the dances, all those things, which we were really excited about. But then it just started pouring, like a ton of rain. It was just pouring. And so the people where the backyard was at the reception, they were so nice. They were like, everyone go inside! Everyone go inside the house! And so I felt so bad because everyone was wet, and then we were all just inside the house. But it was pretty fun. It was memorable. We were just like walking around, seeing people like, oh, hey, thanks for coming, as we were all wet. But I honestly had so much fun. I feel like our wedding day was just perfect. I feel like after we got married, I was just like, okay, this is the most perfect day ever. I'm just so happy, and it was great.
Yeah, it was super fun to be out in the rain. That rain got us all soaked really quick. We had a lot of help though to kind of take down the chairs and tables that weren't supposed to get wet that we had rented. You'll have to see in our wedding video that we're gonna post here soon. You can see that people just got soaked at that reception. But it was really memorable, and it was tons of fun. And then after like an hour of rain, the rain stopped, and we were able to go and do some dancing with the DJ that we had hired outside for a little bit too.
It was funny. We just had a little canopy set up, and so we just danced there. But it was really fun. We were still able to do the dances. We actually, since we both danced, we actually like choreographed our first dance, and we thought like, oh, this will be so cool, it'll be beautiful. But then on the wedding day, we realized that I wouldn't be able to do the dance in my wedding dress, and there wasn't a way to like pin up the train. And so I thought like, shoot, like I won't be able to do the dance. And I wanted to wear my wedding dress all day long, because that was the only day I was gonna wear my wedding dress, so I wanted to wear it the whole day. And so right before the reception, we were thinking of what to do, and so we decided that we could keep like the first part of our dance, where we would slow dance, and then we did the dance from Hitch. You know, the iconic where Kevin James is like doing his little dance moves. And so we just watched the video a few times, and we're like, okay, this is what we'll do. And so it was pretty funny. We looked really funny doing it.
Yeah, we practiced for like 20 or 30 minutes beforehand, and then we were just like, okay, let's do this. And I think we both made ourselves look a little bit like fools, but it was tons of fun.
Everyone laughed, and so that
Yeah.
was the important thing. We just wanted to have a good time together, and it was really fun. And yeah, that's our story. That's how we met, fell in love, got married, and now we've been married for almost 4 years, and we have 3 children now, and it's just crazy to think about life before being together with Jared.
Thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about us. If there's anything else that you guys would really like to learn about us, feel free to comment below, and we'll be sure to let you guys know.
Thanks so much for watching. Bye. Dun, 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 dun.